It's time to hit the trail, lock in those hubs, and throw it into low range. Because you are listening to Wheelin' with Keith and Johnny Orange. They're here to talk about 4x4s, trucks, and everything to do with enjoying the great outdoors. Buckle up. Here's your hosts, Keith and Johnny Orange.
John, we have finally moved into the 80s.
Yes, good music is about to be fellas. I'm excited. The times of hair metal.
Oh, geez, hair metal, yeah. Well,
you wouldn't know anything about that, I'm sorry.
Finally, episode 80. Yeah, no hair for me, for sure.
It took a second.
Yeah, it did. Episode 80.
Thought must have bounced off.
And 1980 was unfortunately the demise of something very near and dear to many of our listeners.
I believe we discussed this a bit on the last one.
Did we? The International
briefly.
Scout. Yeah, it's...
I went a different direction, but never mind.
okay.
Yeah, this too. Yeah.
And I think the people we need to talk to about this, Jeff and Zaed Ismail, IH Parts America. Yeah, IH Parts America. Let's see if we can get them on the line.
I like it.
Jeff and Zaed, do we have you guys there?
Yeah, you sure do. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, welcome back. We really appreciate you coming back on the show again. I guess we didn't give you too much PTSD from the last one.
Or they're still in shell shock.
Oh, maybe.
Thanks
Yes.
for having us again.
Yeah, guys, still loving what you're doing. Been watching some of your progress for your next UA build and all that. We don't have to make this a history-heavy episode, but like I just mentioned during our intro, 1980 was the last year for the International Harvester Scout. And, maybe you can fill in for us a little bit. Do you know why the Scout, why was there a demise of the Scout? Why did International decide to get out of building passenger vehicles?
There was a few reasons, I want to say, back then on this. And, one was the economy. The gas prices were skyrocketing at the time, so they weren't very favorable to buy. The EPA was coming down harder and harder on emissions, and International was going to have to either retool for a new engine or use like the Chrysler engine or somebody else's. And being a smaller company, smaller than even Dodge and all that, that's a lot of R&D dollars to try to keep up and spend to do all that. And then they had a big strike too, I want to say, like in 79, that really hurt them as well. And just all of it added up together. And other financial problems they were having due to other just bad mistakes at the time. They decided to try to sell off the Scout line, and they did actually have a buyer for it. But unfortunately, in the end, it fell through, and they shut down the line, and the rest is history.
Do you know who the buyer was? Were they trying to sell it to one of the big three, or was it another outside foreign investor or something?
It was I want to say it was some rich guy like out of Texas. And if I recall correctly, I wish there was a couple guys here. They totally would be correcting me on this. But it was not. It was actually some private guy. I think that was somewhat related to the development they were having on the Scout SSV prototype, like what you see at the Auburn-Duesenberg Museum in Indiana. But that's what was happening with that, with that situation on it.
Gotcha. Just real quick, it sounds like we're getting a lot of like background noise. I don't know. It sounds like somebody's maybe moving some furniture or something. Is there any way we can just don't know what that was there? If it's something that's interacting here a little bit, but
no, that must have been Zayd. He's got a guilty look on his face.
Oh, all right. That's no problem.
Thanks, man. You ruined the whole show.
Yeah. So
episode 1. Welcome to Wheeling.
Yeah, right. Episode 1. Yeah, we're just gonna scratch the whole show now. So you mentioned the Scout SSV. Did that ever have a chance of actually getting off getting into production, or was that just like basically an exercise in futility there? Was it just because they only built like 3 or 4 of them, didn't they?
Yeah, they were. Well, I think a little bit more than that. They crushed a bunch of them. But they were pretty serious. I mean, they did a lot of development on it to make sure that it was going to be safe and hold up. I at one point had in my possession a book that like talked about it. It was basically a book talking about the whole process and how they were going to build these things, because it was a composite body, and the book was put together for the bean counters at IH so that they could, like, you know, and bean counter language to go, this is why we want to do this. It's best money savings. This, the technology, you know, XXX, blah blah blah, and you know, and then basically what it was a body on like a, you know, 79 or 80 liter chassis. So it still had the 345 and a torque flight and all that, but it was just the body was, you know, all redone on it. And I don't know, would that thing have taken off? No, it was not going to be their main vehicle. It was not going to be like the Scout 3. It was just something that they were working on, just to be clear. They were still going to have like a Scout 3 or something different in that regards. I wish I had that Scout encyclopedia with my good friend John Glancy in front of me and Jim Allen, because that really, that book, if you're a Scout guy, that's the book you need to read and have in your possession. So when you got some guy on a podcast asking you these questions, you can refer to it and go, these are the exact reasons. It's written right here in the book.
Yeah, no, I understand that. You know, we'll put you on the hot seat. We're pretty good at doing that. We've even had guests before that, you know, we've put on the hot seat different ways. So 1980 for the Scout, that was the last passenger vehicle that International offered, was it not? They didn't continue. The Travelall was already dead, and the truck line was already dead. The passenger truck, I believe, weren't they?
Correct. Yeah, the pickups and Travelalls were killed off. I want to say like April of '75. So the '75 model year was the officially last year of the pickup and Travelall. Even though in '70, a lot of people think that in '76, with the Terra and the Traveler, that they brought those to light to compensate for the lack of the full-size market. They were already looking and building those things, you know, years before they even had any thought that they'd be shutting down the pickup and Travelall line. It was just coincidence that they came on board the following year.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense. Do you think International, I mean, obviously they've survived as a company, or at least they're International Navistar now. I don't really know how the corporate structure went with that. I don't know if there's been mergers or anything like that, but do you think International, I know that they have sold trucks that are basically rebadged Chevys under the Kodiak line, but do you think they have and they still of course have their heavy trucks, but do you think they will ever get back into any sort of light passenger vehicle production, or is that just a dream long gone?
You know, right now you never know. They were actually just taken over by Volkswagen, of all things. VW's been wanting to get in a little bit deeper into the truck market here in the States, and they own a few other brands, you know, so they've just recently taken over IH or International Navistar. So we don't know. You know, they could bring the Scout back, but it might just be like a VW Tourage or something that's rebadged or something like that. We don't know. I mean, we can all guess and figure. There was one picture floating around the internet there not too long ago, right after this takeover happened. You know, and you know, people are like, yeah, you know, somebody just threw a Scout grill on one, but and it looks cool, and everybody's like, yeah, I don't know, but it just, they already know that it would already by then not be truly International, since it would just be a rebadged vehicle. So if they do, I think that's how it happens. I think it's because of this merger, and they just end up rebadging something.
So you're really hoping and excited, hoping that they bring back something like Chevrolet did with the Blazer, right?
Yeah, sure, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
we're in line to buy a new Bronco. It's the closest we'll ever get right now to a new Scout.
Yeah, well, the Bronco's cooler than the new Chevy Blazer by
they
far.
They could hybridize this. We could have a 4-wheel drive Beetle come out of this. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you never know, man.
Well, Volkswagen's built the all-wheel drive stuff with the Touareg and then the microbuses and things like that. They've been in the 4-wheel drive world before.
Yeah. But think a 4-wheel drive Beetle.
All right. That'd be neat. They have made those too, but they were
it's pretty cool.
It'd be the shortest wheelbase 4x4. You'd have to worry about going over anything like a 31-inch tire because it'd rub on the back one.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, guys. I've seen a little bit of progress on the social media. I've actually been off of social media myself quite a bit recently, but I know that through there and what you mentioned last time you came on the show, you were working on your next UA rig, and how is that coming along?
Yeah, slowly but surely. Still waiting for one last key component to come in, the front Dana 60 from Dana Spicer.
Front Dana 60. We lost you there for just a quick second. So you said you got a 60 from Dana Spicer coming in?
Yep, well, an Ultimate Dana 60 that we're been waiting on since mid-October. I ordered that thing, and keeps getting delayed. And anyways, it should be here. I was told by mid-February. I happened to be on the phone with Christian Hazel and had him do me a favor and reach out to somebody he knows at Dana that could actually get me an answer, because the company I actually bought the axle through wasn't even able to tell me anymore, like, when I was going to have it. So it's kind of hard, like, to plan a build that there's a deadline. Like, we know there's a deadline to have it done. I got to have it tested and all that and ready for this next UA. So, just not knowing with COVID and everything, and going, man, so, do I need to abandon ship, build my own, build an axle and drag something out and build it, or keep waiting, or go to another manufacturer? But hopefully we'll have that thing, and then we can keep that part rolling. I've got everything, like, chassis wise, from the rear forward all the way, aside from the front end and suspension, pretty much ready to go. Did a lot of exhaust work this weekend. So just, I got the Atlas transfer case in about a week before, so that was nice having that. I was able to get a lot more done, cross members and stuff. So it's going slowly. This week I should be bringing home the body, or at least some of the body, and start piecing that together, because I got to figure out heights and all that, since we're putting a 50s truck body on a Scout chassis.
That's going to be pretty cool, though, man. I'm still looking forward to it and seeing what you have. You gotten confirmation that UA 21 is a go?
So far, it's a go.
And do you know if they're going to be doing it in July like they used to, or are they going to stick to the September schedule now?
Actually, they're going to stick to September. I was actually shooting. I thought it was going to be in June, because that usually was the month that UA used to be in before Alaska last year, or the year before, I should say. So yeah, now that they're starting to really like, Christian was saying he likes that September month, and so it's either going to be, I don't know, the first couple weeks or towards, maybe the third week. But yeah, it's kind of nice having it then. And so far, like I said, I mean, anything can happen. We've seen all sorts of screwy stuff in life happening these past couple months, in this last year. So anything's possible, but as of right now, supposedly, yeah, UA's still on. Otherwise, I'd be building a rig for an imaginary ride right now.
Well, you build it, and you'll still have some fun with it, But
what was the popular phrase?
Oh, one way or another, yeah.
What's the popular phrase? If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I build it, they will have an adventure.
Yes.
Is Zaed, are you helping with this build? Have you been turning some wrenches on it?
I won't have a chance.
Cool.
I'll sign in some tasks.
You finding some what? I'm sorry?
I'll sign him some tasks or need some help.
Oh.
There's just been a lot of fab work where I actually do more staring at it than working on it, trying to figure out how I want to build it. But once, yeah, and he did all the stripping on the frame. So he had the frame all stripped down for me. And so I've been working on that, but it's really been slow going, because, like I said, the parts are trickling in. So there hasn't been a whole lot for him to do yet, but there will be.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, John usually does all our stripping in the studio.
Not voluntarily. There's usually a lot of alcohol involved.
So
yeah,
we invest heavily in puke bags for customers.
Yeah. Hey, man. Well, speaking of things that will kind of turn your stomach a little bit, I've seen something that's been going on a little bit, and then you and I were talking about it as well, but there seems to be a growing trend lately that both you and I are a little bit disturbed by, and apparently...
Not just you two.
Well, and John as well, of course. And it sounds from what you were telling me pre-show here that it might be a little bit worse even in the Scout world than we're seeing in some of the Jeep and Toyota worlds and things like that. And that's kind of the growing trend of misrepresentation of, otherwise what are supposed to be pristine type of vehicles. What are you seeing? What kind of experiences are you seeing on the Scout and international world with that?
So unfortunately, right now there's a lot of flippers out there. The Scouts, now that they're going for a good price, they're drawing a lot of attention. The flippers are finding them, just dragging them out of all sorts of barns and bushes and everything in between, polishing them up and doing what I call a Krylon rebuild, just spray painting over the rust and some other stuff, and just making them look like they're a really good vehicle. And sometimes these guys mean well. They don't mean to screw anybody. They think they have a jewel. But and when it comes down to it, a lot of these vehicles are still needing complete restorations, and they don't meet the expectations of our customer when they're buying them online. They'll be on one of these auction sites. I won't mention names, and there'll be a bitch and video of the vehicle. There'll be all sorts of awesome pictures of every angle of the Scout. But when you're so enthralled with what you're looking at, you're not really paying attention to the details of all the wrongs and not the right. Plus, you're not there to really see it. And on top of it, unless you or maybe you do hire somebody to go look at it, unless they really know Scouts, they're still going to miss a lot of obvious signs. So these guys really, a lot of guys out there that they're wanting to buy them. They're awesome rigs. They're seeing them for sale. They just need to be a little bit more patient, or again, look for the local IH, the closest IH company that's out there that could do an inspection for them, and pay that money for the inspection, because what might cost an inspection for $1,000, say. We've even offered to fly out ourselves. My general manager, Darren's, offered customers, say, hey, buy me a plane ticket and a little bit of my time, and I'll be happy to fly out and go look at a rig for you. Because what might cost them $1,000 to do that could save them thousands in the future. When they buy these rigs for top dollar on an auction site, bring it to us, we look it over, and we let them know that there's a lot wrong with it, a lot more than what they were anticipating, to put it back on the road and meet what their daily driving needs and all that.
That sounds, that's been obviously a problem in the antique car world for years. It's in and actually I would say that problem was in the antique car world and muscle car world far before it was in the 4x4 world, because only in the last 10 years or so have we really started to see an interest in people treating old 4x4s with the same type of collectability as they would an antique car or a muscle car or a brass era car. They're starting to see value in these older 4x4s that, no one was restoring or collecting Jeep Wagoneers or Scouts or early Broncos to that sort of caliber 10 or 15 years ago. And now, even just in the last few years, as not to say that Scouts are lesser than anything else, but really this kind of started with the early Broncos. That early Bronco world got to the point where the early Broncos are just unobtainable for a decent price, and then it moved over into, okay, what's the next smaller soft top vehicle? Of course, is the Scout. And you're seeing the same woes that the early Bronco world saw 4 or 5 years ago as well.
Without a doubt.
And that's just, it's really a shame that people are doing that on these auction sites and even just your local marketplaces and Craigslist. And I've seen what you're talking about. Like you said, kind of the Krylon rebuilds where people are getting under. Fortunately, and by all means, I'm not offering my services to really anyone here, but I do have friends that I've associated with for a long time, around the country, and they'll occasionally find something they're looking to buy in the greater Detroit area. And I've gone out, a couple times a year and looked at a rig or an old car or something like that for one of them. And 9 times out of 10, that's the case. What they think is going to be a smoking deal, beautiful car of a lifetime is just not what it's being represented as.
That's such a bummer.
Yeah.
I think you're finding a good deal on something and just not.
Yeah. Well, it's not that. Sometimes, too, it's the mileage. Like somebody finds, a barn find that has low mileage. Look, every one of these vehicles, they're either worn out, rotten, or worn out and rotten. And that's just the fact. I mean, they're like I said, either somebody's worn them out and boom, they're worn out to the point, and that's why they're parked in the barn or out in the blackberry bushes or whatever. Or, something happened, something minor, or they just parked it, or someone passed away, and it's rotten, man. Every rubber component needs to be replaced. And, I know an IHs are real susceptible to the cam bearings fault, delaminating out of the engine upon startup after so many years of sitting dormant. So, like you said, it's easy to get some cummed and hear something, and it sounds good, like you said, on video and all that, but man, buyer beware, and spend the extra time and be patient, like I said. And if there's a local scout company, there's a lot of us that are all over the country at this point. There's a lot of scout shops out there, guys specialize in these things now. You should be able to find somebody, hopefully within a couple 100 miles, that, if you can pay them to go out there and research it, like you said, that it could save you thousands of dollars potentially, especially if you're paying top dollar for something.
Is this a service that you offer at IH Parts America?
We do. I mean, if they can bring us the vehicle, we'll do it. But again, we have offered it to other guys who are real serious about what they wanted to buy. And again, my general manager, Darren, he's like, hey, on his own time, so that you buy me a ticket and just pay me a little bit of my time. I'm not asking for much. I'll be happy to go fly out somewhere and go look at a vehicle just to make sure that this guy who, he wants to buy it and then, like I say, bring it to us and do a bunch of work. And it's like, well, maybe, looking at it online, it's very deceptive. You never know. So if you want us to go look at it, to answer your question, yes, we have offered it before. And we have looked at some vehicles, but usually it's after the fact, after they've bought it, they've brought it to us for an inspection. And then by then it's like, well, they already own it. I'm sorry, I got to tell you about all the problems that we're finding with it.
It's funny that we're talking about this right now, and I had actually kind of written something out a period of my life that didn't even happen that long ago. In fact, I think it was just before UA, or maybe it was just after. I don't even remember now the time frame of this, but ironically, it was involving an international. My mother owns a company where they have a fleet of different industrial trucks and things like that. And they were looking at an international, I don't remember what model, but a larger model, medium duty truck, dual axle in the rear. Okay. They were looking at a truck out in New Jersey for sale that they thought was probably a decent deal. But the guy over the phone, even when I talked to him, not that he sounded shady, but he sounded like he was unknowledgeable about the particular truck itself. He knew more about the equipment that was on the truck, but actually when I started asking him questions about condition of various parts of the truck and getting some pictures from him, I said, man, the only way I'm going to be able to tell if this thing has any value to it is if I fly out and take a look at it. So I went out there for her, flew out and got into this thing and found out that the DT466 diesel that was in it had so much blow-by that if you pulled the oil cap off when it was running, you thought you were at the International Vaping Convention. I mean, it was just white smoke right out of the crankcase like you couldn't believe. And, tires were bald, lots of other little problems, rust holes under the rubber floor mats. And then I go to drive the truck, and the clutch is disengaging or engaging at the very top of the pedal travel and slipping. And I'm like, man, there's no way I'm driving this from New Jersey to Michigan with a clutch that's already half blown out, because can you imagine doing a clutch on one of those trucks on the side of the road somewhere in Ohio or, whatever? It's just not going to happen. And so I actually called my mom and I says, hey, I said, this truck's not going to happen. I said, I offered the guy a significant, and it was a significant reduction. I said, this is what we can do. This is my safe zone on this truck. And he said, oh, no, I could never go that low. And I said, well, I'm out of here then. And I think he kind of thought he had me over a barrel because he knew I had flown out. He'd pick me up at the airport and all that. I got a cab, went back to the airport and, got a ticket and flew back home. I says, and ironically, we found another truck, basically the same truck, a couple of years older. We found it about 30 miles away about a month later, and it worked out just perfect. But,
nice.
There you go.
But
still probably saved money in the long run.
Saved a lot of money in the long run, because like I told her, I says, after looking at the truck, I said, you're looking at $12,000 to $15,000 in repairs just to put this truck into a into service on the road right away, and nobody wants to get involved in that. Purchasing a used vehicle. Granted, it's a used vehicle, but at the same point, you have to buyer beware, and you have to go in it with a cognizant look at it. And so I would recommend, somebody's on the West Coast, you're looking at a Scout or an old Travelall, or you're looking at some sort of collectible IH vehicle. Get it out to Jeff and Zaed here and let those guys check it out. Pay whatever their fee is for inspecting the vehicle, because they know these vehicles. They're going to be able to check it out and make sure it's not a piece of junk, John, you look like you had something you wanted to say or ask.
No, I was just saying, I've dealt with that. Previous place I worked at, we had a customer bought a vehicle, and yeah, it was a great deal, and all the pictures, everything looked good, sounded good, it ran okay. And we get it in, and they had to put about $4,000 into it just to make it safe for road use.
And just, although you might hear a story on something, a good example is the motor Zaed's working on right now, and he'll tell you about where he was told it was a rebuilt engine, and he'll tell you the rest right now.
I don't know if the public wants to know.
The public wants to know. What do you got going on with your international rebuild?
So 345 in my truck has some major cam bearing issues, as we've talked about earlier with these engines. So I decided in my best interest to start rebuilding an engine now before it blows up. So I obtained a 392 that was rebuilt. I ran fine in the vehicle, tore it out and pulled the spark plugs, and they were full of oil. So I was like, whatever, I'll just, pull the valve covers off. And, they were a little bit questionable underneath there. So I pulled the heads off, and the cylinders were all scored up. And underneath the head was all oily, and valve guides were loose. So then I handed off over to the machine shop, and they told me the previous owner, whoever rebuilt it last, bored it crooked, decked it crooked. Oof. So we ended up having to sleeve it on a few cylinders, bore it out to basically maximum spec that the book says the engine can safely go to, and just basically chugging along. So I started it, so I had to finish it. So it turned into basically a $3,000 or $4,000 rebuild from $1,000 within a matter of a week.
Is that block even worth saving like that, or are the 392 blocks like hard to find or something?
Well, they have to get to a certain point at the machine shop. It already cost me, $600, $700 to get to that point. So you might as well just fix it.
More power to you, man, because I mean, I would have just probably scrapped that at that point, but I don't know how hard those are to find, and
yeah. But to answer your question, the 392s are definitely getting harder to find, and it's like, well, just like Zaed just said, you already had some money in it. It's like you might as well just keep going and finish it, because if you stop and then you got to start over on, drag the next 392 block out, who knows? It could have, its list of problems too that need to be addressed. So, like I said, once you get that snowball rolling down the mountain, you might as well just let it finish off.
Get out the way and let it ride.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because I did the same thing. It's not an international thing, but years ago I was building a not really a full-on race engine, but a pretty hot engine for a hot rod project I was doing, and I wanted to build just an old 350 Chevy, belly button motor. I'm not interested in those very much anymore, but back then, it was the hot ticket. Everybody wanted a 350 Chevy. Local guy that ran kind of a dump truck and marine business, like an excavating and marine business here. One of my customers, I got talking to him one day, and he mentions that he's got, I think it was half a dozen 350 Chevys sitting there under the lean-to on his barn. And I said, well, they're probably all just dead motors. And he said, well, actually, these 4 over here are just parts, but these 2 here were good running ones I pulled out of trucks that rusted out. And we made a deal on them all, real cheap, bought all 6 motors, dragged them back to my shop. Was going to do a full rebuild anyways, so ripped apart motor number 1 that was supposed to be a good runner, only to find that it had been frozen and cracked in one of the cylinders. And and I was like, well, maybe I'll sleeve it or something. So, well, no, I got 5 more here. And long story short, by the time I was done, I was able to get enough core parts to basically build 1.5 motors out of that pile of 6 engines. But that included 2 or 3 of the blocks going to the shop and getting fully magnafluxed, only to find several problems with them. So it was, sometimes though, if I would have just stayed with that first one that had a cracked cylinder, I probably could have had it sleeved and would have been on the road about 2 months earlier,
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that. Like I said, you think you're making the right decision to try to save money and end up with the best outcome, and you end up just tripping over dollars to save cents.
Yeah,
done that.
Yeah, it would have been much better just to run that first block that only had 1 freeze crack in it, and just but
yeah,
it's
live and learn.
Live and learn.
Live and learn. Yeah.
What else is going on with you guys with the business and stuff? Do you have any exciting products or anything you'd like to announce with IH Parts America? I mean, obviously, Wheelin's a big fan of you guys, and whenever we see people asking about stuff on Facebook or anything, resulting in or about internationals, we try to tag you or at least recommend you. Have you seen what else you got going on?
Still anxiously awaiting the bell housing adapters from Chad at Quick Draw to be mounting like the AX15 or NV3550 behind the IH engine. I've been in communication with him on that, and he's shown me pictures of the bell housing done. So he's just working on the flywheel now for the 4-cylinder guys, and boy, once he gets those couple parts, he should be able to hand it off to me, and hopefully should be able to wrap up the conversion, cross member, and anything else that'll be needed to put like a kit together so someone else can be able to finish it. So like I said, that's something we talked about it last time, and we're still working on that. We're still working on our power steering kit for the little 4-cylinder Scouts as well, waiting to get the power steering pump kit in and the box adapter. We've had some parts made there, as well as like a single roll bar for the early Scouts with the half cab. A lot of guys, they want protection of a roll bar, which you can put one on the outside as well, but with the inside roll bar, what's nice is we're tying in a shoulder belt to make them a little bit safer, at least with the lap belt. In the case of an accident, you got more than just a lap belt pulling you into the thing. You got a shoulder belt as well. So just trying to make improvements there, safety and all that. Boy, what else are we working on this year that we hope to get done? Man, just more of the little parts, weather stripping wise. We have a few things in the oven there, so to speak, being made that haven't been available for the Scout 2s. So a couple little weather stripping parts being done. So that's what's going on just for January. We'll have more going on here in the near future. We hope to be investing in some more tooling, plasma table, a mill, a lathe, to start bringing some of our manufacturing in-house, but also to be able to help us more quickly bring out more products too. Cool. Another one's been roughly a 25-gallon fuel tank for the Scout 2. Fuel tanks are hard to come by on those. Not everybody's in love with the plastic replacement tanks that are the factory 19-gallon replacements. So we've come up with a 25-gallon one that's not much lower. That doesn't sit much lower than the 19, but it's an extra 6 gallons, and it's new and it's made out of metal. So that'll definitely be another part we hope to be coming out with by this summertime.
I think John would like that. He's Mr. Metal for everything. Well, I'm sorry, what was that, Zayd?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Let's just say we have tons of new products coming out. It's just a matter of time actually producing them and releasing them.
I know how that goes, dealing with Chad and stuff at Quick Draw. You get, for every 10 ideas you come out with, you have the time to maybe come up with 1 or 2 of them. So, but at least in your kind of case, when you see guys that are passionate about an industry like this and you really enjoy what you're doing, that's what happens is you don't have enough time in the day to come out with everything you want to do. So listeners, keep that in mind. International.
I wish I could sit here at my home shop, which I call the R&D center, and just be building stuff. I get the most pleasure out of it. It's trying to come up with neat new things. Instead of being in the office all day behind a computer screen. So But yeah, it is great coming up with new stuff that the industry definitely needs it. The IHs have definitely been overlooked for many, many years. So there's a lot of products we really could utilize out here in this industry.
Oh, for sure. You know, they're really a cool platform to build off of. And like I was saying a little earlier, I can see John probably likes the idea of replacing a plastic tank with a metal tank. He's
Yes.
a big metal
Yes.
fan there. And
Yes.
you know, with the internationals and, you know, these different swaps and stuff that you're doing, of course, with Chad and other things, do you have any other products? I know last time you were telling us about some of like the liftgate stuff that you were real proud of. Do you have anything right now that's in the works that you can kind of, well, you mentioned the power steering and everything. Did the early Scouts not come with power steering originally?
No, all of them are manual steering. So we've already got a kit out there for the V8 early Scouts. And what I mean by early Scouts, that's the 61 to 71 body style. So none of those ever came with power steering. So we've got the V8 kit already out, and we always start. That's one of the reasons why I own so many different IHs around here, and then Zaed has his little collection, because we all use them for R&D. We use these vehicles to come up with new products, and then I drive them every day and make sure that there's no problems with the parts and conversions we come up with. So the V8 kit's done. I've been driving that for a while. In fact, even the 4-cylinder kit's done. I've had that on my little 4-cylinder Scout I call Hell on Wheels. Just, you know, one of the reasons why we want to bring manufacturing in-house, because I sent out our prototype to be reproduced over 3 months ago, and I've sent numerous emails, and I'm ready to drive down to our manufacturer and go, give me my parts back, man. I'm just going to make this myself. So that's what sucks when you're trying to come out with something and, you know, you're in a waiting and holding pattern. You know, it's like, oh, the parts are made. I got all the other stuff. I just need these certain brackets manufactured. Of course, we can make them in-house, but then it's going to raise the cost of the kit so much to make these things piece by piece. So that's why we want to bring in some manufacturing equipment so we can, make these things faster, make them in-house, be cheaper, just because we've got better equipment so we can make them faster. So really looking forward, like I said, to gearing up this year. We're really hoping for a continuance of a strong economy, and that we could, go ahead and feel really good about investing a good chunk of money in that stuff. You know, it's a little bit of money that I want to get some good American-made products, not some overseas junk. You know, I've been there, done that, and already regretting some equipment we bought about less than 5 years ago that I won't mention names, but in the end, it wasn't a USA-made product, and it shows. And so, anyways, strong believer in American-made products.
So
Absolutely.
Thus why it's not IH Parts China, huh?
Yeah, exactly. We're proud of America. It's very obvious in our name and in our logo. And yeah, anytime I'm one of those people that it's like, if there's something I need, I always ask and I always look for, where's the USA made product? Where is it? And it's occasionally it's the same price. Usually it's more money, and even sometimes it's a lot more money. Man, I'll tell you, when you end up buying it and you own it, you start using it, you know that extra value was well worth it. And on top of it, man, you're feeding another fellow American that busted that product out. Your money's not going to some crazy communist country that doesn't care about you, that just wants your dollars. So anyways, firm believer in Made in USA, and I hope everybody out there, if they just kept buying products in here and keep bringing jobs back to our country.
100%.
Anyways, we're getting sidetracked here.
No, dude, I'm happy.
Like
yeah, we don't get real political on this show, but at the same point, John and I have said the same thing before.
Need to bring it home.
We're obviously we're Americans first, and we highly appreciate it when we see people like you wanting to do this, Chad at Quick Draw building all his stuff in house, not sending anything overseas. A lot of the other manufacturers that were on UA. This is good. This is people representing the best of what America has to offer. Not that there's anything.
We need this.
Yeah,
We need
absolutely. And I've told people before, because I've gotten, not through wheeling so much, but some of my other things in the world where I've been involved in things that foreigners and people from other countries have heard my views, and they go, oh, well, you're Mr. Pro-America, this, and this. It's like, no, wait a minute. I'm pro whatever country you're living in.
Yeah.
If you're a Canadian, you need to be supporting your Canadian economy. If you're in Japan, you support your Japanese economy. But, we're American citizens here. We're going to support our economy. We're going to take care of ourselves. I mean, it doesn't mean we're not going to buy things from around the world, but, totally.
Well, a lot of times we have no choice.
Exactly.
We have no choice to buy those products. There is no counterpart here for an American made or Canadian made or anything, and we have to buy what we have to buy. But if I have a choice, oh yeah, of course I am going to buy the USA made product. 99 out of 100 times I find it not only just to be a better product overall, but again, we're keeping our dollars within the boundaries of our country. So and helping our fellow Americans here side by side.
Well, that's that whole hashtag that's used worldwide. Shop local. Hashtag shop local. I mean, people use it all over the place. So that's what you're doing. Well, I tell you what, guys. One thing we haven't talked about is I'm not sure if it was. I do want to say it came out after we talked to you on the podcast last time. You guys are on the cover of Four Wheeler.
Oh yeah.
You are on the cover of Four Wheeler. Your rig on its side there. So congratulations on the cover shot. But
Thank you.
Obviously that's not how you wanted to be on the cover, but still good advertising nonetheless.
But hey, I got myself on the cover, right? It counts. But no, in all seriousness,
Hey, press is better than no press.
As Christian put it, I really appreciate. It was an awesome shot that Christian took at just the perfect angle. And I really appreciate him and the Four Wheeler guys. I know they get together and kind of decide whose picture goes on the cover. So totally was stoked, and as they put it, it helped take the sting out of the role. And although the sting has been long, somewhat gone, it definitely took whatever was left away. Pretty cool to see that. I'm not sure when this podcast ends up airing. I imagine in a week or two.
Couple of weeks, about 3 weeks.
You'll probably know. So when you guys are listening to this, you'll probably have found out that the not my Scouts issue, but one more issue, and that is the last paper issue of Four Wheeler. But unfortunately, It's been cut. Just something I found out this week, just a couple days ago. It was one of the reasons why I reached out to Christian to find out for sure, because I'm going, hey, I'm hearing some rumors that Four Wheeler's done. I'm going to the website to say subscribe to Four Wheeler magazine, and they're only giving me Motor Trend and Hot Rod to pick from.
Oh.
So that confirmed it. I heard it from some other magazine company that Four Wheeler was being cut, and sure as shucks. Just we're going to be getting one more issue in, and then that's it. That's the end of another era.
So what do they do? I subscribed for like 2 years. Do I get a refund?
I got like 4 years. Dude, when they killed Peterson's, they added that onto my Four Wheeler, and now they're killing Four Wheeler. It's like those guys owe me like 6 years of magazine.
So what are we gonna do? Are we gonna get like Oprah magazine instead or something?
I guess we're gonna have no choice but to get what they give us, right?
Oh man,
that's a bummer.
But unfortunately, I'm sure you guys didn't know this, but it's something. So I figure, like I said, by the time this podcast is out there and everyone's listening to it, they'll have known by then that the last issue of Four Wheeler has happened, and unfortunately, it is what it is.
So is that
what
the issue I have with your Scout on its side? Is that the last issue?
No, it's the second to last. So there's going to be one more issue coming out until I just got the bill for it the other day for my ad, so I know that they're bringing out one more. But according to Christian, that like you said, he said it wasn't supposed to be brought out yet, but I figure with the podcast being a few weeks out, it'll be, everyone will know by then that unfortunately Four Wheeler has been hung up. It's just going to be, it'll still be in existence online, of course, hence Ultimate Adventures still be on, but but yeah, the paper magazine itself will be no longer.
Oh man, that's not good news at all, man.
So-
we'll have to do a goodbye episode to that eventually.
What this sounds like is now we have him on our show. We're gonna have one more episode after this, and then we're done too.
No, don't you be saying that, John. Don't you be saying.
He's a bad luck omen.
No, podcast.
Kidding,
The
of
podcast
course.
world is building greatly, and that's why we've been in this, But
What'll
You
be
know-
funny is years from now they're gonna actually go back to print from all the digital and electronic stuff. And it's to be some newfound thing that nobody knows what it is.
it'll be
anymore.
retro. It'll be
I
retro.
know.
But
I
you know,
can't wait.
so that picture on the cover of Four Wheeler. So you think Christian took that picture?
Oh, I know Christian took that particular picture. Yeah. It says so actually too. Also, when you open it up, the magazine on the inside of the cover, it talks about the picture on there.
Well,
So
I guess
yeah, no, that was a great.
I think it might be his, but I will tell you this, Jeff, and I'm not pissed if this is what happened. He did ask me to email all the pictures that I had taken of that instant happening, and one of the pictures I have, I can't tell the difference between your cover shoot and the one that I've got.
Well, maybe it was yours, buddy.
I don't know.
It's
I don't
just on
care.
the
I
inside
wouldn't-
of the magazine.
He probably was sitting at the exact same spot, went over there and just took a picture or something, he, with a better quality camera than me taking it with a brick, and
Sure.
but that was, I looked at that and I'm looking at my other picture and I'm going, is that my picture they used? So.
Yeah, well, I know it's not my picture. I didn't have that particular angle on all my shots, but yeah, I don't know. I just know that the credit did go to Christian on that, but
It's probably
regardless,
his.
yeah, wait, and I know you had some great shots too, but yeah, like I said, really stoked to have seen it on there. It's definitely one of my bucket list items to have gotten that far. I didn't think. I always wanted to get my vehicle in the magazine, but to get it on the cover, it's like, all right,
That's
hell yeah.
awesome.
Well,
And man, how
technically you
fortunate
got
to
it
get
on the
done.
side.
Well, on the side, on the lid, whatever. It's on the cover.
Yes, it is.
No need to
It doesn't
flip your lid
matter
on
which
that, Keith.
angle it's on the cover, but it's on the cover.
Yeah, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Awesome.
Well, guys, as always, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. We are kind of getting short on time here. But before we let you go, let's do one more plug here. IH Parts America, anything and everything International Harvester, from the old Scouts and Travelalls and pickups all the way up to the bigger medium duties, things like that. You need to talk to these guys. They also have a huge library of manuals and books available through binderbooks.com. Did I get that right, guys?
Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, you sure did. Thanks for putting that in.
And so that's, as we talked on the previous episode, if you guys liked listening to Jeff and Zaed here, you need to go back a couple episodes. John, do you remember what episode they were on last time, or do you guys happen to remember what episode?
72.
72.
Yeah.
72, man, because that was the first year of the Scout too. Right?
Oh, yeah, we got them
about
right at the beginning and ending of the Scout, too. That's awesome. I
Yeah.
like that. So I forgot about that. So, yeah, we've got these guys on 72 and 80. I'll probably post both episodes back to back because we sometimes do that when we have repeat guests. But yeah, international stuff, especially Scouts. These guys are like great in the industry, and they've got all the knowledge and the experience to put your Scout or whatever international you're working on in tip-top shape on the road. So, anything? How can
we
they
have
get
a
a hold of
great
you?
crew.
What are your phone numbers, websites, things like that?
Yeah, so our main sales phone number is 530-274-1795, or they can reach us at ihpartsamerica.com. We have a Facebook page as well under the same name, and Instagram. And then again, our Binder Books website is binderbooks.com. Same phone number, the 530-274-1795. It'll reach either side. My wife runs the Binder Book site, so yeah, any questions you guys have, about your IH, like I said, our big thing is light duty, the Scouts and pickups and Travelalls. We're not so strong on information on medium and heavy duty, but we're learning every day. But our library and Binder Books covers it all the way down to actual corn binders and anything else that you can think of.
Cool.
We've definitely got an owner's or repair manual for it if it's got the International Harvester name on it.
Do you have the manual for the fridge from Friends?
I'll bet you I do.
Awesome.
I may even have the sales brochure too.
That would be cool. That would be awesome.
John's
Yeah.
determined to find one for the museum someday.
Not for the museum. I'm keeping that.
Oh man,
I'm finding. I'm keeping it.
road trip out here, buddy. We'll send you home with one. I've got IH fridges and freezers and all of that. I've got at least 5 or 6 right now between fridges and freezers.
Really?
So yeah.
I
yeah,
got next
they're
weekend off. 3
display
days
items.
off.
Come on out. I got a stand-up freezer I'll donate to you if it's going in the museum. Especially, it'll definitely keep your beverages ice cold.
I like this.
That'd be really cool.
I've literally been using the same International Harvester fridge to keep my beer and sodas cold since I would say 96 or 7.
That is awesome.
Same fridge. The only thing I've ever done to it in all them years is I put a new door seal on it once.
That is
And
awesome.
that's it. Yeah, it works great. I mean, it literally will freeze your beer if you give it the chance. But otherwise, it's awesome. Yeah, it just works good and never quits.
I like
those
this.
things. They made such reliable equipment.
Very,
like
very
this.
cool. Well, guys, we're going to let you go, but thank you so much again
really
for
appreciate
coming
your time,
on.
both of you. Thank you.
And
Yep.
always a
Yep.
pleasure.
Thanks
and
for having us.
we'll get you on probably in a future episode yet again.
Sounds great, man. We appreciate it. Just let us know.
All right, Jeff,
All right, have a
Zaed,
good one.
you guys have a good
one,
day.
guys.
Bye.
So what are you doing next weekend? I think we need to make a road trip. I want a fridge.
Tell you what, sounds like he's got them.
Yeah, I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah, no, it's always a pleasure to talk to those guys and
They gave that little bit of bad news though. Not a little.
the four-wheeler thing.
It kills me, man. I don't like this.
No, it's
I don't like this.
it's definitely a little rough, but
Yeah.
we'll get there. You know, it's everybody's going online only, and we're losing the paper.
I'll never do it. I won't do it. I will never commit to it 100%. Nope.
Well, you know, we'll have to do a whole episode about the four-wheeler, and
We should do an episode in paper.
there you go. Release a podcast in paper.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get a subscriber list from everybody. I was gonna just make a bad joke and say we just make a file of it. They have to download it and read it. They can't listen to it. They can't record it. Have the computer play back in audio. They have to actually read it, but they wouldn't do it.
Oh my God. So,
where
John,
I'm
if
going with
people
this.
want to hear more from us, where should they hear more from us?
Check us out on Facebook. Search for the group 4x4 Talk, 4x4 Talk, TALK. I would hope they know that. A couple quick questions to get you on the page. Interact with us. Post pictures of your builds. Ask questions about things you got going on. This part versus this part. Why do I want a manual over an automatic? However you want to phrase it. Get on there, ask away, and we or anybody else who follows the page can chime in, give you answers and opinions. We do also have some extra content available. Patreon.com/wheelinradio. Access as low as $2 a month. Gets you a bunch of cool after shows. Our End of the Trail. A lot of cool episode stuff that's not exactly PG-13. High ranking a little bit above that. A little content we don't always get to cover in the show. And, some cool stuff.
Yeah, and that if people are interested in hearing more about the Museum of Off-Road Adventure, you can go to Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. We're the Museum of Off-Road Adventure on all of those platforms. And you can go to 4x4 Museum for the Facebook group. Ask to join that. And see some old history stuff. Once again, I would like to thank Jeff and Zaed Ismail from IH Parts America for coming on to the show. And seriously, folks, these guys are the international guys. Every time we talk international with them, it just becomes more and more obvious.
International but domestic.
True, exactly. It becomes more and more obvious how knowledgeable they are about these old binders, and you absolutely need to talk to them if you're into those. So with that, John?
Yeah, thanks for listening, and have a good one, everybody.